G'day, I'm Murray Ellis, the President of the Geelong Miniature Aircraft Association. We've recently just moved to this block of ground here at Teesdale. We've been down at Dog Rocks Road in Batesford for 40 years or so. I had to move because there was a change of owner of the land we were leasing. So we were lucky enough to find this piece of land down at Teesdale, owned by the council. We lease it from those to fly our planes. Yes, well, we've only been flying here for about 8 or 9 months. It's taken a little bit longer than that to set the field up so we can actually fly. And we're in the process of building a shed, to house our tools and keep out of the wind and the heat, and preparing the field to get a good strip out of it. It's going to make a car park and just basically beautify the area with the fleet trees and things like that. The runway itself is 200 metres long and it's about 50 metres wide, and it takes up not quite 2/3 of the length of the property. So we wanted that runway long and wide so we can fly some jets and some other faster planes on it. I've been involved in radio control model aircraft for 35, 40 years, flown all types of aircraft, trainers, float planes, large-scale pylon races, and currently flying turbine jets. Of everything, I prefer flying either jets or aerobatic type planes, scaled aerobatics, yaks, extras, things like that. I was involved in motorcycles, in my early days. Got a little bit sick of falling off and hurting myself, so I thought it'd be good to do something that kids could enjoy and, it wasn't so hard on the whole body.
My name's Alex Mashura. I'm a long-standing member of the Geelong Miniature Aircraft Association, just out of Geelong here on the new field. Currently just building a new plane. It's a 100% scale model of the Cessna 195. It's got a 15-litre radial engine in it, the real thing. This particular one is a 5.3:1 scale. I've drawn up the plans myself on AutoCAD. I've spent something like close to 300 hours drawing it up. Fortunately, a friend that's got one, he's been very good to me. I can measure it up and photograph it at will, so I can get all the dimensions, and I've scrounged up all sorts of bits of pieces of information, some real drawings and a lot of photographs and actual measurements of the real thing. So I've got enough to put it all together, and as you can see, it's still work in progress. I'm trying to build it as light as possible. Some of my other planes are a little bit on the heavy side, and there's a problem building something that's a little bit overweight. So this one's working out fairly light. Firstly, I had to make a true model of the fuselage and the cowl and the other bits, and then make an actual mould for them. So this has been moulded as a sandwich construction honeycomb and vacuum bagged, such that all the excess resin has been squeezed out, and then you pull away all the excess resin, etc. So you get a very thin honeycomb sandwich. It's probably something a fraction over 1 millimetre thick, but it's very strong, extremely stiff, and it's very lightweight. It's excellent for this purpose, but yes, there's a lot of work. And in this case, like everything is scratch built, apart from the motor, of course. I even ran into problems like the spinner. It's an odd shape, so I had to machine up a spinner myself out of a big block of steel, so reduced a bar of aluminium to a bucket of chips. But anyway, we've got a spinner. Making the cowl out of the polycarbonate, again, there's several compound bends in every direction, so that material doesn't form that well if you haven't got very good temperature control. But I had to make other small moulds to try and make these bits, so I eventually got one that worked. So it's still work in progress. The weight's shaping up really well, and that Soric honeycomb sandwich, I think that's worked out really well also. So, so far so good. As I said, there's a few months to go yet, so it's certainly keeping me off the streets, but life's getting in the way, and I've got other things I have to do as a priority. This is not a priority, but it's a great hobby. I built my first plane when I was in primary school in grade 6. I've still got that one. It's still in one piece. So that's when I started. I've been on and off, and I guess I've been a member for at least the last 15 years or thereabouts.
My name's Gavin Shuttleworth. I'm the owner of the HO Scale Layer Town and Country. I'm the president of the Bendigo Model Railroaders, and I suppose over the years I used to work for the railways, and I've used the club's layer, and I thought it was about time I had my own. With that, I've designed a layer and what I want to run, and I've had certain models for 20, 30 years. And I haven't been able to run them, so I thought I'd design something so I could run them. I started off just with a up and down layer. Then other people said, what about your other models? So then it got turned into a fully round one. And with that, I sat out to come up with a design on paper of what I needed. Some things were bought, some things were scratch built on the desk for about 12 months. All the houses and stations and tunnels and all that, they were all scratch built from hand. And the next 12 months was build the actual layout and place them all in position. There's a lot of testing. I had a friend who's good with electronics. He came up with an automated system I should have, that way it'd keep people interested in watching. And he offered for free just to see if he could do it, and he's done it. Runs on a computer that controls all the suburban system on the layout. Meanwhile, the other half the layout is manually for me and friends who just want to operate it, whether digitally or analogue. Originally it was going to have trams running around the layout, but there was nowhere to turn them, so they got turned into a little car or a little truck that runs around. It runs around and it gets a lot of the kids in. They want to see how it works, and a lot of big kids are interested in it as well. They want to know how it works. Different parts of the layer are designed on all different parts of the railways, and it's based in the 1970s and 80s. Hence, that's why the older Suburban fleet are running. The models running at the moment were from kits back in the 80s, I think, from a retail shop. And I built them and I could not run them anywhere. Not until I built this layout, and a friend talked me into running a shuttle system, which is what it's running at. And then I had to digitise them to bring it up to today's world of electronics to actually run them backwards and forwards. And with that, we started build everything, and we've enjoyed travelling around with it. I think the furthest we've gone to is Adelaide, which was 3 months ago. It's gone nearly all parts of Victoria, from Albury to Morwell to Stawell, a few places in Melbourne. It's its first showing at Sunbury here at its new location. The colour of the scenery is based on me travelling to Melbourne in a car, and I took a couple of photos out of the window, and I thought I liked that colour scheme, and with that I bought the Woodlands Scenic range, which is American product, and mixed a blend of colours to get that desired colour, and went with that. The main station, the city station in the corner, the track plan is based on Brighton Beach Station in 1921, but the station itself is not based on the station, it's just the track plan. At the other end of it is my country end. That's not based on any station, but the overheads are based on Riversdale Station, which is on the Glen Waverley line. And the middle station, the overheads are based on the Richmond Station in the 1970s. So I've just taken bits and pieces of all over the system and just had my little part of Victoria, country and city. Everywhere we go, everyone's interested in the layout. The number one question is about the car system and how it all works. The whole layout takes about an hour to set up and pack up. It all fits in a 6x4 trailer. Apart from that, we made a lot of friends at every exhibition we go to along the way, and a lot of people interested. I've always had helpers that want to come along and give me a hand, and they enjoy it as well because they never get to do that side of the aspect of the exhibition.
I'm Jay Everett. I'm from the Geelong Miniature Aircraft Association in Geelong. And this is my reaction. It took about 2 years to build. A member of our club who needed a project, so I gave it to him and he built it for me. So it's a balsa wood model with fine cloth of fiberglass right around it. Then it's just been painted 2-pack paint on top of that. So this model is about 13 kilos in weight. So, which I need a special permit to fly it, with any turbine actually. So this is the brains of it. So what I've got in here, I've run there's 4 batteries. I've got the middle battery here that runs the actual turbine itself. I've got the 2 batteries, LiPo batteries, which runs all the servos and all the electrical gear. And I've got another little battery right down the bottom there that runs the actual electric lead tracks itself. That's your receiver, so that's the brains to my transmitter, what I control it with. This is just my like a little smart flyer, so I can have 2 batteries in it. That's my fuel pump, the computer for the actual turbine itself, and just a couple of little solenoids. Runs 3 fuel tanks in here. Another one in here, that's my header tank. So it's like an air trap. So because the turbines don't like air, have a flame out, so it just takes all the air out of the turbine before it goes there. And the other fuel tanks in there. So it holds around about 3 litres of fuel, which I can last for around about 12 minutes of flight with some in reserve to land. The wingspan's 2100 long and the actual length is the same, 2100 long as well. It's a bit of a sports trainer plane, so you can do whatever you like to do with it. It flies fast or it flies slow. Runs a King Tech 80, which is 8 kilos of thrust on this plane. These are single stage turbines. This is a gas start turbine, so it's an older sort, where the newer ones are all A1 start. It runs on the A01 fuel, which is the same what the passenger jets and fighter jets use as well. At the moment it's about $2.40 a litre, but I bought it on the weekend. This is my second jet I had. It's a nice little jet where I can just throw in the car and take it to field or to my different clubs I belong to and fly. 4 of us in the club who fly different jets, so it's a bit of a sport to get into. When I was 19 years old, I bought a little plane, got into it, got into helicopters, then sort of just eventually got bigger and bigger, and eventually got into turbines. It's nice and clean, there's no mess to clean up, like your glow engines or petrol moons, because it leaves the oil and stuff over the wings. So I got into the hobby, my brother used to fly line controls, and I always liked the planes, which I wanted to be a pilot, which a lot of people did. So I've been flying it for roughly 25 years, I reckon, or a bit longer.
Good afternoon, my name's Gary Gilbert. I'm one of the very newest members of the Geelong Miniature Aircraft Association out here in Teesdale. I've been a member now since July, and I have the freedom of being able to come out here during the week as I'm retired and catching up with a lot of mates and enjoying the camaraderie and the flying experience. I've been off the sticks for about 4 years. I flew quite regularly when I was living in Queensland. Unfortunately took it up at a very late in my latter years when my hand-eye coordination is not as good as a young person's, but I'm thoroughly enjoying it. And thanks to the fellas here for their support. I'm getting time in the air, and my skills are improving out of sight. The plane that you see here has been a labour of love over 10 years. Started it in 2008 and finished it probably only a couple of months ago actually, and it's a quarter scale Tiger Moth. It is based on a full size that is based in New Zealand and owned by Robert McNair, and still flies to this very day. I was looking around for a suitable livery that was different to a lot of people or a lot of other people's models. I wanted something that would stand out, and Rob's plane fitted the bill after chasing images on the internet and so on. I was fortunate enough to be able to contact him, and he sent me over many photographs of the full size, which enabled me to come up with this. And also, my wife and I spent a full day at Luscantire in northern New South Wales, going over an aeroplane, Tiger Moth up there, with a camera and a tape and a rule, and getting all the various detail. The kit itself is an English kit. It's a flare kit, but it is very bare bones basic. All the jewellery and the cockpits, the controls, the instruments, and so on. Even the flying wires and the interplane struts are not. They are supplied in the kit, but they are not scale. So I had to, or chose to, import. These come from Germany. The instruments come from Czechoslovakia. The pilot comes from, I think he comes from America actually, so we've got an American pilot. All the control horns and so on are handmade. The propeller is a scale propeller that I had made in Germany. The engine is a 150 Sato Golden Knight. So yeah, just a lot of work and a lot of hours and a lot of money to get it to this stage, and my wife has been extremely supportive. She's been fantastic with her attention to detail and her help and her support over the journey. It hasn't yet put any time in the air, but we're hoping to do that within the next couple of weeks. The flare kit is predominantly ply formers and ribs for the wings. This area here is a very, very thin ply over plywood formers. As typical of the full size, from here all the way around to the corresponding side, the place on the other side is done in cloth. That is done with what they call BEM silk, which is it's a very lightweight fabric that's used as lining for women's dresses and jackets and so on. And it is applied with dope, and then the dope seals the cloth, and then it's painted over. The paint is 2-pack. It's clear over base coat, and gloss, which the full size is full gloss on the fuselage, and satin on the wings. The wings and the tail feathers and the rudder and the rudder fin, they're covered in nylon, supplied by Flare in the UK, but you have to buy that separately. And it took about, I ordered 5 metres and there's a little bit left over, but it certainly chews it up, particularly when you have a couple of goes at trying to do the wings and get them right. So there was a couple of tries that ended up in the rubbish. But yeah, other than that, there's a the basic structure came from Flare. Other than that, it's pretty much custom.
Well, that's it. We're all sort of packing up and ready to go home. Thanks everybody for showing up. Thanks Matt for doing this interview. We've had a great day here flying, as we always do. We've had a wonderful barbecue. Troops have all rallied around. We've had our usual good time down in the field. If you want to get in contact with us, we have a web page. We've also got a Facebook page. And if you contact the Victorian Model Aircraft Association, they can put you on to any members of the club. The website for the club is